Yo, today I'm just going to make a quick video on the nutrition topic of calorie banking in its use in both building phases, trying to mitigate as much fat gain as possible, and even in fat loss phases as well, which is the most commonly known use of calorie banking. So this video is for the everyday individual who just wants to make dieting a little bit easier and potentially even more sustainable long term. This video is not for anyone who is an elite level athlete, bodybuilder, or physique competitor performing at a high level. And then individuals with low energy outputs, essentially meaning that anyone with quite a low maintenance calorie range already, this is probably not a method that I would recommend. And then definitely not for anyone with a poor relationship with food or eating disorder. So to start off, I'm going to talk to you about how calorie banking can be used in a calorie surplus phase or building phase when you're trying to put on as much muscle as possible, and its use in reducing the amount of body fat put on during this time period. How you'll set it up is essentially you'll figure out what your maintenance calories is, you figure out how much over your maintenance you want to be at. General rule of thumb is 100 to 200 calories over your maintenance per day should be plenty to maximize muscle growth and not put on body fat too fast. You will figure out what your maintenance calories is. Let's say it's 2,500 calories for an example. You'll consume at maintenance for a set period of time, 5 days, 6 days, whatever it is, and then have some additional calories left over for the event that you have to go to or the weekend where you know you're going to consume 500, 600, 1,000 calories over your maintenance. So that will still put you in a net surplus for the week, and you're still feeding your body enough calories that you can still put on muscle. You're still at maintenance, so performance should be still relatively strong, and you're basically just mitigating how much fat you're putting on during that process. An example of this would be, as I just said, your maintenance calories is 2,500. You aim Monday to Friday to eat 2,500 calories, knowing full well that on the weekend you have a planned dinner with your partner, and then on the weekend you may want to have a sweet treat or something like that as well. Monday through to Friday, you stick to your maintenance calories, and then you can enjoy a little bit of freedom and additional food on the weekend. Now, the issue that a lot of people run into when not using this method is that they'll stick to their diet, only be slightly over their maintenance calories, and then the weekend will come in, or they'll have events on throughout the week or whatever, and there'll be a day or two throughout the week where they'll overconsume massively over their intended target for calories, and could be 500, could be 1,000 calories over where they were meant to be. And essentially, you've just doubled your surplus calories for the week and you're putting on body fat twice as fast as you would like. So the benefits of this, as I said before, it's going to mitigate a lot of additional fat gain that will potentially arise just due to having events or extra food in your diet from things that you know that are going to come up and pop up. That's just how life is sometimes. That is going to prolong the amount of time that you can stay in a building phase where you're still at a relatively low body fat percentage, and really allow you to kind of put on as much muscle as you can for an extended period of time before you feel the need to enter into a calorie deficit and potentially slow down that muscle gain. Some potential negatives that you may run into during this is the fact that yes, you don't get to consume as many calories throughout the week, which can be an issue for some people. Another negative is that your energy availability, how much obviously calories you're consuming each day, isn't as high as it otherwise would be if you were consuming a consistent amount of calories in a surplus over each day, which could potentially have some very minor impacts on performance. But in saying that, as long as you're consuming at maintenance, I don't think there would be too big of an impact on performance. It's for those circumstances if you were consuming under your maintenance calories to save additional calories for the weekend, you may slightly hinder performance in the gym on the days where you're consuming less calories. So that is why it's always my recommendation to try and consume at maintenance throughout the week, and then just save those additional calories for the weekend, and try not to consume under your maintenance or too much under. It's kind of 50 to 100 calories under your maintenance will probably be fine, but you really don't want to be pushing sort of 500 to 250 to 500 calories under maintenance throughout the week to save thousands of calories for the weekend. That's probably not the best way to go about this process. All right, so that's the calorie banking method used for a building phase. Now I'm going to touch on the more common use of it, which is in a fat loss phase. So how you'll set up your calories when in a fat loss phase, when using the calorie banking method, is essentially you're going to figure out what your overall daily deficit is going to be. A very common deficit is around 500 calories for an individual. Now, in the calorie banking method, you will take this even further on a set amount of days throughout the week. So rather than putting yourself in a 500 calorie deficit, you may look to put yourself into a 700 calorie deficit Monday through to Friday, and that will save an additional 1,000 calories for you to consume in addition on the weekend or whenever you choose to, without it affecting the overall 500 calorie deficit that you've set for yourself. So this can be extremely beneficial, as it will kind of give you a bit of freedom to have additional food choices and whatnot on the days that you choose to, and is overall puts you in the exact same position as you otherwise would be if you were consuming just the normal 500 calorie deficit every single day. So that freedom is really one of the biggest benefits in it. Now, the negatives of this, obviously, you need to be dieting a little bit stricter in the days that you are choosing to kind of bank additional calories. So that can be quite challenging, and it is one of the main reasons why I don't recommend it for individuals with a low maintenance. Essentially, someone, let's say for example, a female who's not extremely active, has a maintenance calories of around 2,000, and they are already putting themselves on 1,500 calories, which is definitely not a lot of food. If they go to drop that another 200-300 calories further throughout the week, you're really asking quite a lot of that individual, and it's really not a lot of food to be consuming, and may not be the most sustainable way to go about things, and is definitely probably a little too restrictive. So this method works a lot better with individuals with higher maintenance calories. So an individual with 3,000 plus calorie maintenance, this method is extremely effective and definitely allows that person to have the freedom without feeling like they're sacrificing themselves throughout the week in terms of their intake. So that just about wraps up the video on calorie banking. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments, drop me a follow, and I will catch you in the next one.